are spectacular athletes, and we don't need to.
Okay, hello, everybody.
Same comment when one person says
So,
find objectionable because these are the people we find.
I'm okay to go again. Yep, got my running around done this morning and took care of Chico. He's up there laying on the window. And, yeah, might as well come on, stay busy. Really much not what else to do. Clara, first one today. Yep. I got the extra report from yesterday, and then Doug came out with Mexico was big news right now. So Doug has a 15-minute one, Cash has a 15-minute one, and then I got my shorts and everything. No Billy yet. So I hope everybody is staying safe out with the bad weather everywhere. We got a few people in the blizzard, Terry, and all the people in New York. We got a little bit, but not too much. A lot of people are at work right now. You know out the window? Huh? Oh, you had enough. You had your lunch. Hang on a second. Ugh. Come on. Shut the window now. Hey, you. I want to get another minute or so. Saying everybody comes in when we start to show up, so everybody's working. I'm going to start off with the short videos. And we'll go ahead and get started.
Pension funds. I swear to you, I
Two and
had
a
to
half.
watch his budget speech like 3 or 4 times. I could not believe what I was hearing. And I am someone who knows Mamdani's real intentions, but still, it feels unrealistic that he would do all of these things, all of these terrible things in less than 2 months. This guy's been in office since January 1st, and a 9.5 property tax increase. So much so for taxing the rich, right? I don't know how someone, especially here in the United States, still believes that this whole rhetoric of taxing the rich is actually functional. Oh my gosh, it is not. Here's what people usually don't understand. Okay, it's very cool to say, hey, let's all tax billionaires. They have enough money. They can, so we can all live a better life. Billionaires have options, okay? Big corporations have options. They're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else where they can make more money, where they can continue with their businesses, unless you are willing to prohibit that. And then we are talking now about a dictatorship. We're talking about extreme control, which I don't doubt they try and do. I don't doubt at all. But what happens is that the middle class ends up paying for all the promises that were made behind the let's tax the rich. No, you're not going to tax the rich, Mamdani, right? Because you can't. And who's going to pay for all those fake promises? The people of New York. People making what? 100,000 a year, which is nothing in New York. Nothing. We are talking about funds that are supposed to protect our firefighters, our cops, our teachers, their health benefits, for God's sake. He's putting his dirty hands into the piggy banks that protects our seniors. Who the hell voted for that? Not
The people in New York that thought that they was getting free things and y'all thought that y'all had stars. I looked at Kamala Harris on a podcast and she was saying, "Oh, we got great stars. We got Jasmine Crockett and Zoran Mondani." And she was talking all of this nonsense. And what people don't understand is that you are going to continue to get finessed and fleeced by the Democrat Party that cannot execute on or participate in giving you anything free unless you pay for it. So is it really free if you pay it for it? Taxpayers are the ones that's going to get a 10% property tax increase. The people are fleeing New York in mass. And he says he's not going to fund the 5,000 cops that they need on the payroll. And so the cops is getting crashed out on also.
Okay, that guy's a good job on Telegram. Next one is 4 minutes.
Moment that history has never seen before. Wars are increasing. Natural disasters are breaking records. Moral decay is accelerating at a pace that would have been unthinkable just 20 years ago. And if you've been paying attention, something deep inside you already knows. Something is shifting. Something is closing. The world as we know it is winding down, and most people are completely unprepared for what comes next. But here's what I need you to understand before anything else. This is not a message of fear. This is a message of urgency. There is a massive difference between the two. Fear paralyzes you. Urgency moves you. And right now, you need to be moved. The Bible has been telling us for thousands of years that there would come a generation that would witness the convergence of signs, a generation that would see nation rise against nation, famines, earthquakes in diverse places, the love of many growing cold, deception so powerful that even the very elect would almost be deceived. Look around. We are that generation. This is not speculation. This is not conspiracy. This is scripture being fulfilled in real time, right in front of your eyes. And in the middle of all of it, in the middle of every headline, every crisis, every collapsing system, there is one name that remains unchanged. One name that was the answer 2,000 years ago and is still the answer today. That name is Jesus Christ. People want to talk about the end times like it's a horror movie. But what the end times actually represent is the greatest invitation in human history. God is not surprised by any of this. He mapped it out. He warned us. And the reason he warned us wasn't to terrify us. It was so that when we saw these things begin to happen, we would know that redemption is near. He wanted you to recognize the moment. He wanted you to wake up. Because here's the reality. You can know every prophecy, every timeline, every geopolitical sign, and still miss the entire point. The point was never just information. The point was Jesus. It has always been Jesus. Every prophecy in Scripture points to him. Every sign in the sky points to him. Every shaking in the earth is creation itself groaning for his return. The question was never, when is he coming back? The question is, are you ready? Are you actually genuinely surrendered life ready? Because there is coming a moment, and no one knows the day or the hour, but there is coming a moment where the door closes. And the tragedy won't be that people didn't have enough information. The tragedy will be that they had every opportunity and kept putting it off. They kept saying later. They kept choosing comfort over conviction, distraction over devotion, the temporary over the eternal. Don't be that person. Not today. Not with what's happening in the world right now. If you've been running from God, stop running. If you've been on the fence, get off the fence. If you used to walk with Jesus and somewhere along the way life pulled you away, this is your moment to come back home. He's not angry with you. He's waiting for you. The same Jesus who calmed the storm, who raised the dead, who walked out of a tomb on the third day, that Jesus is reaching out to you right now, in the middle of the chaos, saying, "Come to me." The end times are not the end of hope. They are the final call of hope. And hope has a name. His name is Jesus. Run to him while there is still time.
I hope that was okay there, Clara. You're the only one in chat right now. This was a 6-minute one.
Us in market share.
South Carolina woman Nancy Mace, she serves on the House Oversight Committee and the House Armed Services Committee. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's great to see you. I wanted to pull up, if we can, your X account, what you posted in the wake of yesterday's incident. We have that for you. It says, and for our viewers, it says, after 2 assassination attempts on President Trump and the murder of Charlie Kirk, this is yet another reminder these threats are real and they are escalating. Is it becoming commonplace now seeing incidents like this, not once, not twice, but now 3 times what appears to be yet another assassination attempt on President Trump?
I can't remember a president that has had this many assassination attempts in my lifetime. I don't know of any other than Donald Trump. And I will tell you, the rise of political violence, the rise of a mental health crisis in this country, it's only gotten worse. I've never seen anything like it in my 5 years. And in fact, I'm someone who gets a lot of political death threats, and I have multiple people sitting behind bars for their threat to murder me or members of my family. And it's a very scary time. And it's because I believe the way that Republicans have been dehumanized, being called fascists and Nazis, and how we've been a threat to the country for so long. People are going to act on those emotions. And obviously, Charlie Kirk was murdered for it. The president, they've tried to assassinate him multiple times. I mean, this isn't the first time, and it's certainly not going to be the last until the left takes, some responsibility here in their rhetoric and dehumanizing Republicans.
We've always had people out there who were suffering from mental illnesses and things like that. But I think that rhetoric that you talk about, Representative Mace, really is something that can push them much more easily over the edge. I want to pivot to a story which is exposing, this is just rich. Democratic hypocrisy over the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, the legislation you voted in favor of, requiring proper forms of ID to vote in federal elections. The Democrats hate it. They say that it's racist. It's Jim Crow 2.0. But take a look at this from the New York City website. The New York City Democratic Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani is requiring, guess what that is, forms of identification, because he needs people to shovel snow. Just to shovel snow, he says you can come in and apply basically on the spot, but bring in 2 small photos, the original and copy of 2 forms of identification, and your social security card. Now, isn't that interesting? Overnight blizzard, Mamdani needs the people out there working, doesn't have enough, so he needs people to come in and shovel snow. But just to shovel snow, somehow, oh, great headline, Snow Crow 2.0 instead of Jim Crow 2.0. I mean, you get it, but it's ridiculous that he's saying, okay, we don't need it for voting, but we need it for shoveling snow. Your thoughts?
I just can't believe anybody buys this hook, line, and sinker of this line about how voter ID is racist. I mean, it's really, truly unbelievable. You need not 1, but 2 forms of identification to shovel snow in New York City. The hypocrisy is amazing, in fact, and I hope that folks are sharing that, because we are a democracy, we are a republic, we have a country to save, and we want to make sure that citizens are voting in American elections, not the other way around. But it just goes to show how far they want to go to allow illegals in this country.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. If you want to be a snow laborer is the title for that. Again, you can come out. I don't think they had as big of turnout as they thought they might have.
Really?
Yeah,
maybe it's those burdensome ID requirements.
It could be the difficulty in that, or just the sheer fact
Might
of getting.
Be racist. They think it's racist. Maybe they don't.
He doesn't see it.
Snow
He
shoveler.
doesn't see it that way, and he says, "Well, we need that because this is a federal, this is a federal thing. So it's law.
Right.
So to get paid, you've got to do it. Well, yeah, that would be the same thing as the SAVE Act. It would be law, and then you'd have to show the ID to vote. I mean, there's no difference whatsoever.
And the SAVE Act could be something that maybe President Trump would talk about tomorrow night at the State of the Union address. There has been a lot of talk of the president needs to be able to make his case.
Information. True.
Okay, that was a 6-minute one there from Nancy Mize. Don't hear that one. I got a couple new clips here so far too, but hopefully we'll get more of the cemetery again. Michael Jackson. Here's Elvis. That was one of them. And another one here. Whitney Houston. I don't remember her. So that was 2 for now. Hopefully we'll get some more later. I got the Tic Tac guy, 9 minutes.
February 22nd, the year of our Lord 2026. It's about a little after 6 o'clock here in California. And I'm not an attorney, but I'm going to make the case for the people that lost their homes in the Cal Fire in Pacific, more specifically, Pacific Palisades. This is so devastating. Here's the thing that I want to talk about. There is a gentleman, an attorney, that's individually taking up the case for all the people, or a large number of people who lost their homes, because there was what's called, I guess, there's 3 types of malfeasance or feasance: malfeasance, misfeasance, or what's called nonfeasance. And I'm going to show you. Let me play this out. I'm not an attorney, but I'm going to show you how this lays out. Start with this. Recently, just a couple of days ago, this is a report coming out of the fire department, the LA Fire Department, and I'm going to read this to you. It's confidential for internal use only. Do not distribute. The LA Fire Department After Action Review Report, Strategic Response Plan. More importantly, at the end, they state a couple of things, but at the end, you have to realize what was going on with this report. They say, and it's a quote from this report, "It's our goal to prepare and protect Mayor Karen Bass, the city, and the LA Fire Department from reputational harm." That's their goal. Not to bring you the truth, not to bring you the facts. Protect these Bass, the fire department, etc., the city, from reputational harm. That means they're going to manipulate the facts. That means they're going to manipulate the truth. That means they're going to hide information from you. That's a violation of your rights. Let me be more specific, and I want you to watch this. Okay, here we go. Pay very close attention. Listen how this plays out. You're going to hear the word manipulate.
Hi, Michael and Colleen. Well, this memo and a bunch of other fire department documents were released today, and they just add to the revelations about the expanse of the city's efforts to try to manipulate the news coverage of that after-action report. And that report, we've learned, was revised several times to remove some critical language.
Now, to make the case, this reporter was on the news, okay? I believe this was NBC or KTLA. I'm not exactly sure. But it points out the fact that they were going to manipulate the facts, the truth, the information that is rightly due to you. What that is a declaration of war. Or that's kind of maybe extreme, but when these people do not want to give you the truth and manipulate the information that is rightly due to you, that is a violation of your public trust, or the public trust of or your trust in the system. I believe this is part of a larger, what's called Marxist political warfare campaign on the United States, you and I, and our society, and basically our nation as a whole. These people within this organization, and not so much the entire department or that action after action report, but these are people within this city, and I guess what you might say, their interconnectivity to manipulate the information that you're getting. But more importantly, stay with me. I'm going to see if I can get this laid out to you in a more specific way. Cal Fire basically puts out throughout the year information about specific areas within the state of California that are at high risk of fire. And the department utilizes what's called the Fire Hazard Severity Zone, HFSZ maps to classify long-term risk and maintains the Fire and Resource Assessment Program, FRAP, to provide ongoing spatial data, historical fire perimeters, and periodic state-level risk assessments. More importantly, what they tried to do, utilizing what's called WUI. These are what's called wildland urban interface. What that means is when people build into a highly dense vegetative area and they develop it, across the street, you have dense foliage, etc. That puts that specific region at what's called a very high fire hazard severity zone. Severity zone. That means the CAL FIRE has identified, due to the wildfire or wildland urban interface, hey folks, you're in a very dense area right near you. That is, your area is extremely high risk for fire and losing your home in a spontaneous fire for whatever reason. But more importantly, here's the thing I want to say. CAL FIRE, and everybody knew Karen Bass. I built a home in the Thomas fire in 2020. Okay, 2018, 2019, 2020. Okay, I know about that. I'm basically just an average guy. I knew about the severity. Everybody knows, especially the people within California and these high risk areas, knew about the severity. What did Karen Bass do? She took off for Africa. And as soon as she heard about it, she caught a plane home quick. And when she landed at the airport, a reporter was there to ask her, what do you think? What do you think, Karen? She had nothing to say. Nothing to say. She wouldn't. Well, we're going to try to do everything we possibly can to help these poor people. We got to get this taken care of. She didn't say anything. But more importantly, I talked about misfeasance, malfeasance, and what's called nonfeasance. The attorneys on this job, on this investigation, or that are bringing this forward, are going to use what's called nonfeasance. What that means is they knew about the severity, they knew about the issues, that specific reservoir that was empty. They had over a year to take care of that and fill it up with water. More importantly, and this is the problem, they failed to act. It is their responsibility to prepare. They knew the issues were the high risk severity zone, and they failed to prepare for it. And then they failed to act. And more importantly, because of this report and the after action report, Karen Bass says, I didn't change anything. The fact that she wanted them to change it to basically mitigate or dampen down the liability for the city, the county, and her specifically, and her office, the damages. They wanted to mitigate the liability. These people committed a crime. Karen Bass has committed a crime, and her agencies, basically, I wouldn't say her whole agencies, but the people responsible for acting on these fires, and number one, being prepared, and number two, not acting at all. They could have mitigated this fire. They could have majorly repaired. They knew. And then you have Karen Bass try to hide the information from you. That is a violation of your rights. And guess what this is going to do? The insurance companies, this is going to bankrupt the county of LA. And guess what? then the president is going to have to come in and save California and nationalize the state of California. Watch what happens. Hey, everybody.
Okay, that was last night from the guy that we play on TikTok. Good update on the news there. They got one DJ and a couple other short ones, and then we'll do the X2 report, followed by Doug's 15-minute one.
They, who are they? The deep state, the swamp, Republicans and Democrats. They, in their system, their quote-unquote democracy that they established for them to capture and control you. They made the dollar as valuable as they wanted it to be and invaluable. That is called inflation and deflation. Capture, control. They have controlled you. All because Americans don't know your simple core functions and operations of what you're supposed to know. You've trusted TV, baby boomers especially. You're good people. You're trustworthy. Handshake, word of mouth, eye to eye. But you followed the TV. That's where they psyoped everybody. The TV. It made you think all these news outlets were for you. They were all in this. That's why President Trump talks about the people up here, not your anchors. And some of them are too, because they're obviously on these networks. But the people up here that you don't see that own these networks. That's why he said media was used as a weapon against you. Social media in the 90s. Everybody remembers AOL, and you had to do the little you've got mail. Remember all that bull crap? Remember the dial-up? Remember all that? Everybody started getting hooked to it. Oh, what is this? Now, I say it all the time, I think the better technology gets, the dumber people get. You walk around with a cell phone in your hand 8 hours a day. Someone asked the other day, what does roll tide mean? Google it. You show how lazy you are. You got a phone, a walking computer in your hand with access to every freaking thing. Google it. Now, if it were me, again, I'd wipe out all the internet. You wouldn't have it. You'd be in a library and a town hall. Straight up. You would have some education in your life. Real education. Not all this man-made college. And I can speak. I have a bachelor's degree from right back here, University of Alabama, and I have a master's degree from right here, Colorado State. I can speak. I have the papers. I can speak. I've been to the institutions. I know what they're all about. Learn the professor. That's all you got to do. All you young college students out there, all you got to do is learn the professor. Learn what they like, what they love, learn their ideology, and they're right here.
What happened, Cam?
Even if it's completely against your beliefs, learn theirs.
No, you're all right.
4.0. Same thing with country music. You know how I know how it works? Because I've already beat the system. No, I don't have 60 number one hits like George Strait. Nope. I don't need them. All I needed was 2 billboards. Figured it out. All right. They, who are they? The deep state, the swamp, Republicans.
It must have been an accident, Kim. You know how YouTube is. Yeah, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I got a 15-minute Doug video that I'm going to do the X2 report coming up after I do this 5-minute Trump signed executive order here. I want to play.
We're gathered here today for a truly solemn occasion. Throughout this hall, I am joined by heartbroken Americans who have lost parents, siblings, children, grandchildren, and treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration led in by the past administration. Millions and millions of people from jails, millions and millions of people from countries that we don't want to know about. Let them in. They let in everybody. They didn't check anybody. They let in everybody. Everyone in this room not only suffered an infinite loss, they were the victims of politicians who put the comfort of foreign criminals before the safety of American citizens and American patriots. Their stories were censored and suppressed like maybe almost never before, so that the politicians could open our borders and allow our nation to be invaded. If we didn't win the election, our nation would right now be destroyed. And I want to ask Laken's mother, Allison, to please come forward and say a few words, please. Hi, Allison.
Well, this is unexpected, but I just can't thank you enough.
Yep, you're right.
There are just not enough words to say. Because if you've lived the nightmare that we have lived, you understand the importance of the job that he's doing and securing our nation and fighting for our families. Because this could be any family. This happened to my family. This could be any one of your families.
I don't use an auto pen, so you can watch me actually sign it.
That was weird. What happened?
Okay.
Fighting for our families, because this could be any family. This happened to my family.
Back.
This could be any one of your families.
I guess that's.
I don't use an auto pen, so you can watch me actually sign it. Okay. We'll do this the right way. I want to give coins to the family, okay? Could
I had one for you, and I couldn't bring anything inside.
No, Secret Service. Well,
Yeah.
you'll get it to me.
Try to come on.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, sweetheart.
Little Emma.
Oh, hi, Emma.
Little Kella.
Very good. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready, Emma? We're going to sign this, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Nathan Wiley.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You take care of yourself. You can hold that. At least for a little while before.
I'm not taking it.
So let's do this candle lighting and this.
Katie Abraham, Jesse Bird, Liam Cantu, Michael Clayton,
I had to cut that off because of the music. I don't want to get in trouble playing that music. Okay, we will get to the X2 report now. Nibbledy Doug. And I got cash. A lot of news out of Mexico again. $28. Yesterday's.
Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3845 AN. Today's date is February 22nd, 2026, and the title of the episode is Trump Trapped the Deep State Central Bank in the Tariffs They Never Saw It Coming. Now, let me ask you a question. What if you could do more with your retirement funds than just hope for the best? With My Digital Money, you can build a self-directed IRA that goes beyond the usual, combining Bitcoin, gold, and silver for real peace of mind. Imagine Bitcoin's explosive growth, the steady strength of gold, and silver's wildcard potential all working together in one powerful account. While the market zigzags and headlines keep you guessing, these assets help shield your future from inflation and uncertainty. Why let your future hinge on just one bet? With My Digital Money, you're in control. We allow you to invest in crypto, gold, and silver all under one roof, balancing risk and reward and opening the door to bigger opportunities. Don't settle for ordinary. Build a more balanced, resilient portfolio today so you can retire with confidence. Visit My Digital Money and see how easy it is to diversify and protect your retirement today. That is mydigitalmoney.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private central bank, the World Economic Forum. As you can see, the central bankers, the deep state players, they're trying to stop Trump every step of the way. And we knew that they were going to try to stop him with the tariffs. And look what they've done. They brought a case up, and I do believe it was the central banks behind this, China behind this, the EU behind this, many other groups that they put behind this. Yes, they paid him from all different directions, and they tried to stop him. And look what Trump did. He used the weakest of all the tariffs to actually sucker them in and make them rule on this one statute, while he has all these other statutes that he can use to implement tariffs. And this is exactly what he did. Did this slow him down? Did this stop him? Did this shut down the new parallel economic system? It absolutely did not. Actually, it made it worse for them, as it usually does. And you could see he pretty much laid the trap. He brought them down this path, and now they're sitting there scratching their heads going, now what do we do? So once again, what are they going to have to do? Most likely they're going to have to go ahead and try to sue again. They'll keep doing this. But you have to remember, the deals that Trump has already made, they stay. They don't disappear. Actually, now with the additional tariffs that he's placing on all of these countries, those also stay. Will he have to refund the money? Most likely not. Actually, if you really think about it, the deep state players kind of screwed themselves. Remember, they came out with an article and the Fed did this whole study that said 90% of the tariffs are being paid by the people. Well, if that is true and the people are actually paying, who does he have to really refund then? Is it the people? Does that even think about this for a second? It's a double win. Now, once again, we know this study is a bunch of BS. We know that once again, the money's never going to have to be repaid because, again, Trump has other ways of bringing in the tariffs. I do believe he used the weakest statute to lure them in and actually use it up to the point where the Supreme Court says no more. And he said, okay, now we know. But this doesn't stop me because I have XYZ to use. Actually, we could see that Kavanaugh gave him a roadmap on what to do after the ruling. So once again, this has completely and utterly failed. Just like JP Morgan trying to hide the fact that they debanked Trump. And remember, the banks and all the social media sites and PayPal and many others, they were censoring, debanking during the election, during COVID. And really think about this. JP Morgan, why didn't they debank a criminal? And I'm talking about Epstein. Does that make any sense? Well, when you're a criminal organization, you got to protect the criminals. And if you're going and trying to stop the president of the United States, where he's trying to destroy the Federal Reserve, well, that's what you do. So during a court filing, JP Morgan finally admits that they closed over 50 Trump accounts after January 6th. You know, after the deep state players had an insurrection on the sitting president. Who was the sitting president? It wasn't Biden. He was not certified. You have an insurrection against the sitting president. That was President Trump. This is why he was out there saying, go home peacefully and patriotically. He was not talking to MAGA. He was talking to those individuals that were staging the insurrection. And that was the deep state players, the central bankers, you name it. So basically, this whole thing completely and utterly fell apart. And now the people see the truth. And think about it. This is a very good lesson right here, because you have to remember the banking system is part of the central bank system. A lot of these different bankers sit on the board of the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation. And if you think this was happening as an isolated incident, no, this is what they were going to do if they actually succeeded in getting the central bank digital currency. What were they going to do? They were going to have total control of everything that you did. If you weren't speaking in the way they wanted and you were going against their narrative and you were trying to debunk what they were saying, they're going to debank you. They will shut your account down. If you didn't have the same political ideology, what were they going to do? They were going to shut you down. Think about what they just did with President Trump. Did they have any proof? Was there a court case? Was there anything? Was he convicted? No, but JP Morgan Chase said, you know what? We're going to debank him anyhow. He was the president of the United States of America. The people of this country voted for him. So think about this for a second. So once again, they have failed big time. And you can see that Trump now, he's building the economic system. It's getting stronger and stronger. And yes, there are certain things that he has to do. Like, number one, bring the rates way down to help those people purchase the homes. As he deports all the illegals, what is happening? You're seeing homes are going to become cheaper. Rentals are going to become cheaper. It's all going to become cheaper. And once again, will he implement the 50-year mortgage to help the younger generation out? Absolutely, because you have to remember the average age now is what? Around 40, which is absolutely ridiculous. But once again, you could see that housing market is struggling right now. And this is because the Federal Reserve, the deep state players, they raised the rates. They brought the illegals in and they made it very, very difficult for people to purchase homes. But everything's starting to reverse right now. And you're going to see the housing market get better and better as time goes on. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that to make the housing market a lot better, what did Trump just do? Well, he just went ahead and he issued a rule to block the illegal aliens from the taxpayer-funded housing. Trump's Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has issued a rule to prevent illegal aliens from gaining access to taxpayer-funded housing like Section 8, meant for low-income Americans. So HUD issued its rule to require proof of American citizenship or eligible immigration status for such housing aid. Section 214 of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1980, as amended, prohibits the Secretary of HUD from making financial assistance available to persons other than United States citizens or certain categories of eligible non-citizens in HUD's public and specified assisted housing programs. So basically, all the illegals coming to this country, they will not be able to get housing. And what is that going to do? All of a sudden, it's going to open up for Americans. The housing prices are going to come down because, again, the government isn't funding all of this. When the government gets
vision problems, try adding this to a glass of water before bed.
Glasses, they help you see better, right? Nope. What about
involved, what happens? The government's involved in colleges. Government is involved in the sanctuary cities, and they're paying for rentals and housing. All of this went up. The government is involved in bringing in the illegals to, place in different jobs at very, very low wages. What does that do? Basically, it keeps wages down. So you can see that everything that they've been trying to do is now being stopped. And this is going to give the American people the chance to go ahead and succeed in this country. And think about it. The labor market is now getting better and better and better. Why? Because a lot of the illegals are being deported. The Capizio letter on X put this out and said, the U.S. labor market needs far fewer jobs to prevent unemployment from rising. The break-even rate of household employment growth is down to just approximately 50,000 per month. This is the number of jobs needed to keep the unemployment rate stable. This marks a 75% to 80% decline from approximately 200,000 to 250,000 in 2023. The shift has been driven by sharply falling immigration, meaning fewer new workers are entering the labor force each month, reducing the number of jobs the economy needs to create. Meanwhile, in mid-2025, household employment growth was already near or below zero, yet unemployment remained relatively stable. The U.S. job market is undergoing one of its most significant structural shifts in decades, and that is absolutely true. And everything is about to change right now, just like the GDP numbers. Yes, the GDP numbers are a little bit lower, but you have to think why. EJ Antonio, PhD, put this out and said, important context of the weak GDP report. Federal government purchases plunged 16.6%, a huge drag on the headline number, offsetting growth in private economy. You have to go all the way back to 1972, half a century ago, to find a larger QQ drop. Absolutely. And think about it. As Trump shifts everything from government, where government hiring, government purchases, you name it, and shifts it to the private sector, yes, you are going to see this. You know what's interesting? Every day there's a new beauty gimmick taking over social media. It seems like people are wearing 10 different masks, tapes, and patches to bed just to wake up glowing. But in 2026, we know that glow is just trapped sweat that disappears by noon. If you want skin that actually stays firm, you have to stop obsessing over the surface and start loading up your collagen internally. This is why Aegis Multi-Collagen is a non-negotiable part of my day. Unlike those viral gimmicks, Aegis Multi-Collagen provides 5 premium types of collagen that works from inside out to help reduce wrinkle volume, bring back my youthful glow, and restore my skin's natural bounce. It's flavorless, clump-free, and specifically designed to be highly bioavailable, so it actually reaches my cells. Since I started, my skin has the natural hydration and elasticity that no night mask or face tape could ever replicate. To celebrate Valentine's, get 51% off Aegis Multi-Collagen at healthwithx22.com. Every order includes a glow-up bundle with free VIP coaching for life, the 14 Foods for Amazing Skin ebook, and free shipping. Plus, it's all backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Head to healthwithx22.com now to claim your 51% discount before it expires, or just click the link in the description. And once again, this is what we're seeing. You're witnessing the transition right now. That is what you're witnessing. And yes, is everything going to be perfect? No, because you're transitioning out of a central bank system into a people system. And Trump has been using the tariff system to do this. And you can see the central bankers, they tried to stop him every step of the way. Now, I do believe as May approaches, now maybe Kevin Warsh will be confirmed as the Fed chair. And I do believe the Fed chair that Trump is bringing in right now is not to keep the Fed running. I do believe the Fed chair is, first of all, going to receive the suggestions from Trump, which means the rates are going to come down. Plus, I do believe the Fed chair is in there to basically coordinate with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to restructure the entire Federal Reserve system. And you can see that Trump, he's continually bashing Powell over and over and over because why do you think he's doing this? Well, he knows he's gone in May, but once he brings his person in there and he makes a couple of suggestions like, hey, maybe we should lower the rate. What do you think is going to happen to the economy? It's going to take off. And he's going to prove to the American people that he was right all along. This is what he put out on Truth. The Democrat shutdown cost the USA at least 2 points in GDP. That's why they're doing it. In mini form, again, no shutdown. Also, lower interest rates. Too late Powell is the worst. President DJT. And of course, what are they trying to do? Just like they did during 2020, they released COVID. They thought they were going to destroy the entire economic system. They thought the market was going to come down dramatically. Actually, Soros back in Davos said the market is overheated. It's ripe for it to come down, which means they were going to sell off like crazy to try to bring the market down, but they did not succeed. Actually, the entire economic system bounced back because it was artificially shut down, which means when the economy was turned back on, people went back to their jobs. Now, of course, not everyone went back to the jobs because the government at the time was still paying people, and people were like, well, I'd rather stay home. But again, it's not a true recession. It's not a true crazy unemployment number because it was artificially shut down. And when you open it up, people go back to their jobs. And that's exactly what we saw. So once again, you could see they're trying the same exact tactic. They're trying to keep the government shut down as long as possible to try to hurt the economy. But you have to remember what Trump has been doing. He has a parallel economic system. The parallel economic system allows the economy to do a lot better than if we were just in a central bank system, because Trump is bringing in the investment, bringing in the jobs, bringing in the manufacturers, bringing in all of this that we need to make this economy flourish. And what do we need to make the economy flourish? We need investment. We need construction, which is the building of the manufacturing plants. We need jobs. That's what we're seeing. We need lower fuel costs. That's what we're seeing. And once again, you could see the deep state players, the central bankers, they tried to stop the parallel economic system from being created, from getting stronger. And they brought a case up to the Supreme Court. And again, Trump used the IEEPA, one of the weakest statutes, and the Supreme Court ruled on it, ruled against it. And Trump said, okay, that one's gone. We're going to the next statute. And the deals that are in place, they stay. We don't touch those. And now he's placing additional tariffs on all these people. So did they win? No, they actually made it worse for themselves. Scott Pacen says the court did not rule against President Trump's tariffs. 6 justices simply ruled that IEEPA authorities cannot be used to raise even $1 of revenue. This administration will invoke alternative legal authorities to replace the IEEPA tariffs.
About 10 minutes,
So,
guys. Doug
once
will be
again,
next.
Trump is winning. Then Trump responded to all of this and said, and he put this out on Truth, to show you how ridiculous the opinion is. The court said that I'm not allowed to charge even a $1 to any country under IEEPA. I assume to protect other countries, not the United States, which they should be interested in protecting. But I'm allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with the same country, even imposing a foreign country destroying embargo and do anything else I want to do to them. How nonsensical is that? They're saying that I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. What license has ever been issued without the right to charge a fee? But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country. A much more powerful right than many people thought we had. Our country is the hottest anywhere in the world. But now I'm going in a different direction, which is even stronger than our original choice, as Justice Kavanaugh wrote in his dissent. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, Kavanaugh says, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. This is because the numerous other federal statutes authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs issued in this case. Those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232, the Trade Act of 1974, Section 122, Section 201, Section 301, and the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338. Thank you, Justice Kavanaugh. In actuality,
drinking warm water before bed fixes tooth and gum problems overnight. People are healing decay and
while I'm sure they didn't mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful and crystal clear rather than less. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our companies and country will actually increase because of this decision. Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories to the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEEPA has fully been confirmed by this decision. In order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past under the various other tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs, Section 232, and existing Section 301 tariffs remain in place and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged, and we are also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again, President GJT. Then Trump said this: the Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing. I am ashamed of certain members of the court for not having the courage to do what is right for our country. I would like to thank and congratulate Justice Thomas Alito and Kavanaugh for your strength, wisdom, and love for our country, which is right now very proud of you. When you read the dissenting opinions, there is no way that anyone can argue against them. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic and dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they'll automatically vote no against anything that makes America strong and healthy again. They also are a disgrace to our nation. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court, when in fact they're just fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything to do with it. Very unpatriotic and disloyal to the Constitution. It is my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interest and a political movement that is far smaller than people would think, but obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic and national security than anything else. The good news is that there are methods and practices, statutes, and other authorities, as recognized by the entire court and Congress, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as president of the United States of America. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do nothing that would sway the decision that has been rendered by the court. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past years to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 mark on the Dow and simultaneously 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everyone thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained until the very end of my administration. 4 years, tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled, have given us great national security, and together with our strong border, reduced fentanyl coming to our country by 30% when I use them as penalty against countries illegally sending this poison to us. All these tariffs remain, but other alternatives will now be used. So this ruling does not stop tariffs. It does absolutely nothing, actually, at this point in time. Actually, it gave him other rulings that he can now use, and they really can't counter against it, where basically he can block countries. He can use Section 232, Section 201, Section 301, and all the other, and 122. So once again, he pretty much trapped them in all of this. He led them down this path, and now they're screwed. So basically, this has left the door open, and it allows Trump to use many other methods. So what did he do? He raised the tariffs by 15% across the board, showing the deep state players, the central bankers, if you like to try to stop me, if you like to try to shut all of this down, if you're trying to shut down the parallel economic system, well, guess what? You couldn't do it. You won't be able to do it. And now everyone who tried to do this is going to pay. Pretty much that's what you're experiencing right now. Trump is getting stronger and stronger. I shouldn't say Trump. The parallel economic system is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, which means all of a sudden we're going to see a lot more money come in to the tariff system, which means I do believe that Trump is going to use this ruling to do what? Most likely to remove the income tax from the people. Think about where we are going with all this. The main mission is to do what? Get rid of the central bank. The main mission is to do what? In the midterms. How do you win the midterms? Well, economically, you make wages go up, you make jobs plentiful, you lower fuel costs, and you keep inflation steady. And while you're bringing the wages up and you're lowering fuel costs, what do people notice? Wow, I can afford groceries. I can afford products. This is very, very nice. And as you're deporting all the illegals, what happens? It goes down. Housing prices come down. Now think what happens when he brings in the new Fed chair. All of a sudden, he makes a suggestion. We should be around 2% interest. All of a sudden, the interest rate dramatically comes down. Do more people come into the housing market? Absolutely. Does construction pick up? Absolutely. That also then has a domino effect. Furnishing, plumbing, electrical, asphalt, sheetrock, lumber, you name it. Everything starts to take off. And the economy starts the boom. And on top of all this,
Almost over.
Trump is going to show people,
3 minutes.
I'm going to give your buying power back to you. And I'm going to give that money back to you, and you're going to be able to use this in the economy, and you're going to feel really, really happy. And I'm going to show you that we can support this country without borrowing from the Federal Reserve. And I do believe Robert Barnes said something very, very interesting. He said, foreign goods flood into this country at such a rate that a 20% tariff would raise enough revenue to completely eliminate the individual income tax on all Americans making less than $250,000 a year. Added bonus gives a competitive edge to American industry to create American jobs. Now, think about this. As it stands right now, with the government the way it is, without shrinking it, yes, this might be a difficult task. Some of the numbers just don't add up just yet. The math ain't mathin'. What happens when Doge tracks all the money? Those individuals within government starts to shrink. Remember, he's removing the jobs. He's removing the purchasing power. He's removing everything the central banks set up. Remember, the government was the economy. And how do they keep the economy running? They borrowed from the central bank system. The private sector wasn't really the economy. Remember, 71% of the GDP is consuming. So if you have an amazing number of contracts within government and you employ hundreds of thousands of people, that's the economy. So Trump is shifting everything from the government economy to the private economy. And as he does this, and as the government shrinks, do we need to support that government anymore? No. Which means, do we really need 20% tariff? Maybe we only need 15% tariff. And maybe Trump says, you know what? In the beginning, since the money's coming in, maybe we'll just remove the income tax from anyone making under 100,000. Could that be possible right now? Absolutely. And I do believe that's where all this is headed. And I do believe as we approach the midterms and to show people that we don't need the Federal Reserve, we don't need to borrow the currency, we can actually support things via the tariffs. When people start to see this and people experience this and you're getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 back from your taxes and you get to keep this money, what do you think the economy is going to do? It's going to be absolutely incredible. And everyone's going to start to witness the golden age. And people.
Vision problems? Try adding this to a glass of water before bed.
Glasses, they help you see better, right? Nope.
Are going to say, I want more of this. And the people are going to say, whoa, wait a minute. Those people making under 100,000, they don't have to pay income tax? And Trump is now saying the next group is going to be 250,000 or less? You think the people are going to say, yes, let's do this? Absolutely. And the only way to do it is to do what? Vote Republican. And that is what you're going to see happen. This is how Trump brings the country together and shows the people who the true enemy is. The true enemy with the economy, the true enemy with everything else. The economy is about to take off like a rocket ship. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's your report. So we still got, I got to get out Doug's 15, Cass's 15, and a couple other ones still to come. And I'll be back tonight.
I thought I'd bring it to you. I always love any Hollywood or politics or talking about religion or politics. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. That's why you all have subscribed. You guys watch my videos, and I bring you the news in as entertaining and broad of a fashion as possible so that you don't miss out on the truly important stories that affect every one of us. To aliens and the Iran possible war. But this one is Mel Gibson said something I had not thought of before. It's about why is man fighting over little tiny man the big deal to evil forces?
Why are the big realms of good and evil, and they exist? They're as real as we are. Why are these realms slugging it out for the souls, the hearts and souls of mankind? Why are we the meat in that sandwich? Little old us, flawed us, imperfect us. Why is that about us?
That's it. First, I want to stop on that question, and I want to ask my chat, why are we the big taco in the universe? Why? Why would the devil battle over us? Why would Jesus die for us? Why would our government, like you watch the two sides, Republicans and Democrats are fighting to get us to vote for them and put them in power? What is man? Why aren't we looking for other things in the universe like more power, nuclear power, or AI? Or aliens even? Why aren't demons trying to get the aliens? Demons and angels, the principalities that battle, are battling for us in a battle. Why us? Mel Gibson asked. I love that question. I had not thought of that before, so I'm going to ponder that today. Why us?
I'm trying to answer that question. I don't know if I can. I've attempted, and maybe with God's help and with image and with sound and music, we can deliver on some answers to some of those massive questions, these existential questions.
Yeah, okay, these are the big existential questions of our time. Why? Now in church, God said, I will be your God and you will be my people. That's Reformed theology and covenant theology. It's all over the Old Testament. It's all over the New Testament. I will be your God and you will be my people. And that statement suddenly made little crummy mankind the end-all be-all of every war, every philosophical battle, every political battle. I think that's just fascinating. We're going to get to aliens in a second, but first, a word from my sponsor, Chapter. Chapter helps this channel. That means they help get the truth out. You can call them. I'm going to give you an example of why you should call them. The number that helps me out, if you use this number, 631-961-8696. It's in the description. It's going to be the first pinned comment. I'm just going to take you to one of you are going to be what this commercial is about, because this is funny. This is what I mean by it is a near hellscape to try and figure out Medicare. Here's one of you. I called Chapter and they were not able to save me any money. So that's my first promotion of Chapter, is to say they're not going to give you bad advice just to make money. Okay. They said I already had the best insurance plan set up. It's expensive though. And because I have a surgery coming up in the near future, it's not a good idea for me to change anything right now. They said to call back about a year after my surgery, and maybe then they could help me find a more affordable Plan G insurance company. But I already know the other best insurance company in my state, and they're about the same price. And I don't know much if Chapter will be able to help me. The only way for me to save money is to get Medicare Advantage Plan C. And those plans are like taking freedom of choice away from the patient's policyholders. They are socialist communist plans with socialist communist doctors. I hope you guys see what I mean now when I say it is very complicated to figure out Medicare and you need a guide that you can trust. I only trust Chapter to navigate for all of you. They'll tell you, and even if you're paying a lot and you go, I can't afford this, but they go, look, this is the best gig you've got. You can do. You can trust them. So give them a call. That's 631-961-8696. And that is why I trust Chapter to help my audience. Now let's get to the aliens. This one is really bad. These guys are doing a podcast about the potential war in Iran These look like normal human beings, normal guys you'd hang out with. Watch this.
I have a friend, former CIA officer, who was at the White House this morning talking to his friends. And he says that a decision has been made to attack Iran on Monday or Tuesday. The president yesterday gave the Iranians 10 days to accept our proposals for an end to their ballistic missile program, an end to their uranium enrichment program, an end to supporting groups in the Middle East like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. But he's done this before. Well, he'll give you 10 days, he'll give you 2 weeks, and then he'll just attack 2 days into it. He thinks that keeps people off balance. And so he said that there are battle lines, that the anti-war forces are J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard. He said that that's it. He said the pro-war people are led by Marco Rubio and include Pete Hegseth, and now the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And
hold on, who believes someone inside of the Trump administration got this guy this information? Who here believes, like they might leak information out to totally mislead everyone that we're going to hit Iran today or tomorrow? I would love to see if that checks out on this guy. Number one. Number two, that someone inside the Trump administration said J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard are the only ones that are against going into Iran, and the rest are all warmongers. That's what this guy said. And this guy claims that someone inside the administration told him.
I stopped him on that point this morning, and I said, wait a minute. I said, during the Iraq War, at the start of the Iraq War, the most stridently anti-war component was the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They were always the last ones that wanted to attack because they know what war is. And he said, but you forget.
It's showing the market is minus 8.5, 800.5, guys. 830 in the red.
Trump has replaced all of the Joint Chiefs this year, in the past 12 months.
Are you scared yet? Look at him. But wait a minute. Trump replaced all the chiefs of... Yes, he did, because the last chiefs of staff called him Hitler. Look at this dingbat. I mean, sorry, brother. He's a fellow podcaster. I don't like speaking ill of them, but this is going to get funnier, guys. Hold on. This isn't the punchline yet.
Which I had forgotten. Any of these four-star generals who, had worked their way up through the ranks, but had served under Biden, he fired all of them.
Yeah, good.
All of them. And he promoted people that he knew would be politically loyal.
Do you think this is to distract from the current scandal?
Probably in part, yeah.
Wait. This is to distract from the current scandal? Here it goes. Get ready, guys. We have it figured out by these podcasters, these kids. This is why Trump is starting a war with Iran to cover up with the current scandal. That's why he's going to attack Iran today or tomorrow. Are you ready? Have you guys, everyone guess in the chat right now. What do you think is the current scandal that Trump is trying to cover up by going to war with Iran? Are you ready? Here comes.
How about them saying they're going to release the UFO files last night, which I've wanted released forever. But
I know.
How about them saying they're going to release the UFO files last night, which I've wanted released forever. But
I know. Yeah.
How about them saying they're going to release the UFO files last night?
How does this human being wake up and get his pants on in the morning? Trump announced that he would release the UFO files scandal, and that's why we're going to war with Iran.
Which I've wanted released forever. But
I know, right?
Timing.
I mean, we've been talking about this for years.
The timing.
Yeah.
The timing.
I have a friend, former CEO.
Released the UFO files last night, which I've wanted released forever. But
I know, right?
Timing.
I mean, we've been talking about this for years.
The timing.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this guy's face on screen. The timing, right? He goes, yeah, this guy looks like someone who I would trust in my house. I would not trust this guy who says with a straight face to his audience, do you have any respect for your audience? He's like, the timing. Yeah, the UFO files are why we're going to war with Iran. Okay. Well, I always allow dissent, so you guys can tell me in the chat if you believe this stuff, because I have to believe that my audience is better educated than that. I don't think I have misled you guys to that degree that you'd think that Trump would go to war with Iran to cover up for whatever the scandal is of saying he would release the alien files. Like, that doesn't even track. I feel bad for their audience. Anyone in my audience believe that? Let me know in the chat below. I promise not to make fun of you too much, but I am here to make fun of Gavin Newsom, this is your Democrat friends who are absolutely the most scandalous, awful racists you've ever seen. You're not going to believe this one. Here goes.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. and I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in.
He's trying to impress blacks and say, I'm no better than you. I too can't read a speech. What? This black guy is laughing. I'm like you. I have low SAT scores too, just like you people. I'm waiting for him to say that he also eats fried chicken and enjoys grape drink and then say, I'm not trying to make a connection here, but I get low SAT scores and have a hard time reading. This guy there's no way this reptile is going to be a contender. I just believe blacks are not this dumb. Any blacks in my audience falling for this stuff? Because here's Gretchen Whitmer. Remember her, the blacks don't know what a computer is.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word a computer is. They don't know. They don't know.
There you go. Hey, my black people, vote for a Democrat. This is Hochul going in the Bronx, don't even know what a computer is. They think you're animals. This is the party that has the black voting caucus in their pocket. That is hilarious and disgusting. Speaking of hilarious and disgusting, here's Mom Donnie. Remember with the SAVE Act, they say blacks are too dumb to present ID. And now New York needs to shovel snow. And Mom Donnie says, we'll hire you to personally shovel snow. But what do they need? They want you to provide an ID.
We're utilizing 33 DSNY vans and 2 DSNY buses to transport shovelers where they're needed faster. And for those who want to do more to help your neighbors and earn some extra cash, you too can become an emergency snow shoveler.
Oh, good. What do I got to do? I'm on board with that. I'm a citizen. I'm going to be an emergency snow shoveler.
Just show up at your local sanitation garage between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow with your paperwork, which is accessible online at nyc.gov/snow, and you can get started right away.
With your paperwork. All you need is your paperwork. And what is the paperwork? Right there. I will bring 2 small photos. I will bring the original copy and 2 forms of identification. I have a social security card and I will bring it. Those are the IDs right there in that graphic that is on the New York City site. That's all it takes to help shovel snow in New York is ID, and they'll pay you. And why do they say that it's Jim Crow to force people to bring ID to vote? Now here's Trump. We had predicted before that it was a massive win. Of course, the other podcasters are trying to put you in a panic and go, we lost the tariff and we have to impeach the Supreme Court. No, dingus. No, we're not going to war with Iran to cover up for the aliens release CAF. Trump says the Supreme Court will be using lowercase letters to punish them, is what he basically said. He said, for one thing, I can use licenses to do absolutely terrible things to foreign countries, especially those countries that have been ripping us off for many decades, but incomprehensibly. According to the ruling, I can't charge them a licensing fee, but all licenses charge fees. Why can't the United States charge a fee? So basically what he's doing is he's saying he's going from a 10% tariff around the world now to a 15%. He just gained more income for the U.S. over the Supreme Court. This is a win. If you're to support tariffs, this is a huge win for Trump, as predicted. Now we're going to talk about Trump is finally putting the SAVE Act front and center. Here's Laura Trump.
Down ends. Number one priority will be passing the Save America Act.
Absolutely.
Why is that so important for this country?
It's so simple. To get on an airplane, you need voter ID. To buy a beer, you need voter ID. But to do the most important thing that we do as American citizens, exercising our right to vote, we let anybody vote without any confirmation they actually have the right to vote in our elections. Now, I think, Laura, that's actually a form of theft. Because let's say that you, an American citizen, show up and vote for a candidate, and then somebody else who has no right to vote shows up and votes for a totally different candidate. That person is stealing your vote away from you, stealing your sovereignty as a American citizen.
Thou shalt not steal. And that's why our government should support the SAVE Act and prevent people from stealing your vote. Well, we learned a lot today that Trump is going to war with Iran to cover up for the alien gaffe, according to some sources. Guys, I hope you're having a good time. Hope you guys have some.
Okay, Doug's first one today. I got some short ones before I do a cast video.
From the competition.
Everything in this we're experiencing right now can be solved through psychology. So let me just give you
Yeah.
a scenario here. You have two people, right? One person tells you to go poke a venomous snake, and then you go and do it. And then that snake bites you. Now, as an outsider, you're going to be like, why are you such a dumbass that you listen to this dude tell you to go poke a poisonous snake, right? And if you were the person who was poking the snake, you would come up with a bunch of reasons. Like, well, he told me. Why would he tell me to do it? I wanted to prove myself. It's his fault. I didn't know the snake was poisonous. But the thing is, all of those things are your responsibility. Just because someone tells you to do something, why do you need to do it? That's the psychology aspect of it, and these elites know this. Now, the reason why they can work together is because they can blackmail each other through CP, you know, like what Epstein did, and that's why they're all falling in line and working together so closely. The rest of us, we can't do that, okay? There's too many people dumber than shit that I am not working with together. I don't even like leaving my house if I'm not at home, okay? So I am not going to do the whole group thing to feel like I fit in because, you know, I developed past 16. Yeah, so I know the whole group making shirts with patches and labeling, like you're dumb. And the elites know this, and they're programming you because they have studied our brains inside out. They have mapped it so detailed that they can tell you to do whatever and you would actually do it. That's why they kept saying, if all of your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it? And all of you said, no, I'm not that stupid. In 2020 came, and clearly you are, right? So all of you that are like, when is the justice coming? The justice is for us, not them. Okay? You need to learn that there's two different classes. There's plebs, us. That's what the justice system is for, to keep us down. Not to freaking put justice to them. That is why you have to be strong enough to know discernment, to be strong enough to stand alone against the world when you know something is wrong and to not want to fit in and cave into peer pressure. That is why it's super cool to be a hermit and alone and be okay with yourself. And it irritates the weaklings so much. But it makes you untouchable by the elites because there's nothing that they can take away from you, do to you, to change your mind about who you are and what you want to do in life. That's how we get our control back. Not by making groups, making shirts, protesting, whatever. You just have to ignore them and be strong enough to know you're being lied to and then not want to fit in to a fake ass society made by them so that they can perpetuate the propaganda to use you as a marionette.
I got another one from her. She was from Canada but lives in Texas. But I want to play this other one. Lincoln's Riley's mom. I got a better video.
I think that a lot of people feel like that President Trump is maybe different than the person I've gotten to know.
Oh, why not loud?
I just can't thank you enough. You said from the beginning, literally the day after this happened, that you would not forget about Lincoln. You were president at that time, and you have not forgotten. You have fought a fight that most people would not want to have to fight. Most people wouldn't. They would just say it's just easier not to do this. And President Trump you are doing a thankless job that most people just wouldn't do. And I just can't thank you enough. There are just not enough words to say. Because if you've lived the nightmare that we have lived, you understand the importance of the job that he's doing in securing our nation and fighting for our families. Because this could be any family. This happened in my family. This could be any one of your families.
Okay, I think that was all. Prayers out to Lincoln Riley's family and her. Okay. I did a couple earlier at the beginning of the show. I find them when I find them. Ah, yeah. That was the volume. What do you guys think of these ones? The beginning ones were good too. Thanks, Lucy. Oh, it says on the top 10 Western actors. Top 10. So when they get more out, I'll be sharing them. The second one is one lady here real quick.
Find exact.
Dear Mexican members, I know you guys are having a little kerfuffle, but in that place you're having a little kerfuffle, a lot of our elbows up TDS Canadians are vacationing down there, and they're scared. They're wondering if you guys have DEI policies to help like the alphabet people. And as a concerned Canadian, I was wondering, do you guys take Venmo or GoFundMe to keep them? Like, I'll pay you extra to take the conservatives, but if you could keep the elbows up ones, we'll pay you with Venmo and GoFundMe. I'll start a GoFundMe now. I just need to know what kind of payment transfer you guys use, so you guys can keep the liberals in Mexico, which actually, you know what? That's not fair to the Mexican people. I'd actually feel super bad for the Mexican people to give you like all of our liberals. Because I know there's a town in Mexico that's taking on like Canadians en masse. And like the normal, like Mexican residents are like, what the F? These people are insane. Yeah, that's what we have to deal with up north. That's why I want you to keep them. No, like literally, how much money do you want to keep them?
Yeah, it was only a minute. I got one more minute
So,
one,
Fox News Alert,
and I got a Photoshop for tomorrow. This will be tomorrow morning around 10 o'clock. All the people that passed. So this will be the last clip here. About a minute, I believe.
Will begin against aggression against us.
This just
what I
came
wanted
out,
very
you
much
guys.
to have in this security guarantees. My question is how partners will react on the aggression of Russia, if it will be. The answer is that it will not be. It's not the answer to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
So you want a very specific in writing guarantee?
I want we have good things in these guarantees. It's true between us. It's true. But I want very specific answer what partners will be ready to do if Putin will come again. And I think this is what Ukrainians want to hear. Just want to hear. I'm sorry, it's not pressure. It's just to understand.
If you get those security guarantees, would you be willing to accept a frozen front line whereby Russia keeps the territory that they have already seized?
We already said that we're ready for the compromise to freeze the points where we stay, the places. It's a frozen contact line. We are ready for this. It's not a very good position for us, but in any way, we have defending lines. We have these fortifications. But if Russians or partners in dialogue with Russians want just to withdraw our army from our fortifications, I mean, we can't be such, foolish guys. We are not children.
What would you like to hear from President Trump tomorrow at his State of the Union address?
I want him to stay on our side.
Now a local tax expert will do your tax.
Okay, the latest talks with Zelensky there. But two more, you guys. One cast video is about 15 or so, and then the one guy on YouTube that does Australia accent with Big Mike has news. So two more big ones here.
that effort. So after recent incursions at the U.S. southern border, America's military is going to do something about this, gearing up for a new operation that could soon see U.S. troops cross the border into Mexico for the first time in a long time as they raid cartel compounds, doing the work Mexico's government refuses to do. Meanwhile, the organized criminals hiding in Mexico are doing everything they can to sneak themselves back into our country while they still can.
This would be primarily U.S. military, specifically from Joint Special Operations Command, combined with CIA intelligence officers. So the mission itself, it would be largely the U.S. military and these intelligence officials using drones to target cartel members, cartel leadership.
But when you said it's a message to Sheinbaum, who is the president of Mexico, do you think she doesn't have control over these cartels?
Oh, absolutely not. She has zero control over any of these cartels, and they're embedded all the way up into the highest level
levels of her government.
Yeah, they're only increasing in their capabilities and their sophistication, and they're actually weaponizing their drones as well. We've been reporting on this for months, for years. The criminal cartels are actually strapping bombs onto drones, and they use them against rival cartels.
If the cartels are starting to use drones, I don't want to scare people, but could you imagine a pickup truck full of 100 drones sitting on the approach corridor at Fort Lauderdale International Airport?
And some of those operations could entail United States military being on the ground in Mexico to carry those out.
Here it is. Border drone incursions from these cartels. It's forcing the United States to act for the first time. But what nobody's talking about is when President Trump got elected, the border, it got shut down in a way these criminal organizations never expected, which has brought us to the point where we are today. A point where these criminals who were making $13 billion a year smuggling untold numbers of illegal immigrants into our country are pulling out all the stops to try and create pathways back in once again, bringing these cartels to the brink of open warfare with the greatest military in the entire world who could wipe them out with the press of a button. But they don't think that's going to happen because it's never happened before. And for decades, these guys have had a safe haven in Mexico, which for some reason hasn't figured out how to stop them. And right now they're turning things up a notch, which is why we're seeing increasingly bizarre attempts from these folks to sneak across the border, including recent seaborne attempts in broad daylight at a time when President Trump's made it clear nobody should be floating around on a boat, revealing the desperate lengths these criminals are going to in order to try and keep their empire afloat before it collapses. Which brings us to the real reason the United States may soon do something big. This recent shutdown at the El Paso airport, which took place because of drone-related activity at the border, it's forced America to enter a new phase in the war at the border. And as you're about to see, we're on the cusp of witnessing an offensive in Mexican territory that hasn't happened in centuries. And while analysts say this latest cartel incursion amounts to an invasion by a hostile military force, everyone knows these things only happen because that hostile force has a safe haven in Mexico, where they're outflanking their own authorities who can arrest them, yes, but only seem to do so under international pressure for the news cameras, while never seeming to arrest enough cartel members to end these organizations once and for all. And look at what some folks are now doing to try and sneak across the most secure border in U.S. history. So here we got something very interesting. We've got some folks who are sneaking across the border, but these are actually illegal aliens dressed up as construction workers. Look at them hiding on the side of the road, sneaking up, and here they go. Look at that. They've walked across the border. They're now in the country, and they look like they belong in this environment because of their disguises. However, this is all being monitored by Border Patrol, and this little plan these guys came up with did not work because they were caught and apprehended. And shockingly, these aren't just land incursions we're talking about. We got people coming across on boats right now.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people? Now, more than ever, Israel needs committed friends around.
He's going. Move forward! Get off the steering wheel!
What's wild about this is the idea of being in a small boat like that right now when you got the U.S. military all over the Caribbean. That's incredibly dangerous, but these cartels, they're selling that opportunity to their customers who they're going to sneak into the country with a massive debt hanging over their head that they're going to have to work off for years in some counterfeit version of the American dream. This is frightening stuff. It really is. But as you're about to see, the recent drone activity and orders from cartel members that their underlings shouldn't be afraid to confront U.S. law enforcement, this has the United States changing up how it secures the border. And all these little games that are being played by these criminals, well, they're about to come to an end.
Okay, ground stop to 0630 for how long?
10 days.
So the airport's totally closed?
Drones used by cartels has been an ongoing problem along the border, but the AP is now reporting that a new laser was used by the government to bring down those cartel drones. And last-minute concerns over commercial flights in the area sparked the shutdown. Let's get out to News Nation's Allie Bradley, who is live in Texas with the very latest.
So a laser weapon was used to down drones near an airport at the U.S. border. This is big, and it shows that the United States is taking seriously the threat of a technological invasion. You can't have gang members and criminals flying these things over our border without anything being done about it. What are they using these things for? They're using them to guide criminals who want to sneak into the country. They can see all of where the Border Patrol and the military assets are. They can monitor patrols, and they're helping people navigate into the country without permission. This is a massive disaster. Plus, these things are also weapons. They've changed battlefields across the world, and these cartels use them on each other in less than peaceful ways, which is frightening.
As well, we've been reporting on this for months, for years here at News Nation. So the criminal cartels are actually strapping bombs onto drones, and they use them against rival cartels. This is happening mostly on the other side of the border. The drones they're using, they're even bigger than those little ones that you or I would use as well. At one point, they were using French agricultural drones to carry heavier loads like explosives. Now, the cartels are also reportedly using devices to interrupt or scramble devices on the U.S. side that are tracking the criminal organization's movements. And we're not talking about just a handful here. We're talking about a lot of drones, Nicole, because a top general actually testified to the Senate last year that they're seeing 1,000 drone incursions from the Mexican cartels each and every month down here at the southern border.
1,000 drone incursions a month? That's an invasion, folks. Doesn't matter if the drones are robots. They're being piloted by people hiding right on the other side of the border wall, right behind Allie Bradley. And this is getting absolutely zero attention from the mainstream media in this country because it totally goes against the idea that illegal immigration is some sympathetic thing America should be open to because it actually makes our country better, when the very people coordinating it are criminals who do not want to help anyone but themselves. And if you were under the impression that the border was just, a few people here and there wearing construction vests, no big deal, not a massive thing. Look, a few years ago, the border was exploited in a massive way. And now we're learning that the people who did that took all the money that they earned and armed themselves, which has been an absolute disaster for the wonderful people of Mexico who aren't gang members or criminals. Look at this. Just recently, Border Patrol captured Mexican cartel scouts operating on the U.S. side of the border. These folks entered the country illegally, but they've got the money and power to do this and the territory to help them do it, all of which has been stolen from our country and from Mexico. The law-abiding do not benefit from this on either side of the border. And the fact that this is still happening in 2026 is the reason Mexico's president is now on notice.
Well, Dana, that's a message sent to President Sheinbaum. President Trump said, sit on these cartels, we're going to do it for you. So I think that was a shot across the bow to Mexico. If you don't get your house in order, we're going to do it for you. Dana, as you alluded to, the last time I saw a message like this, a notice to airmen using deadly force in airspace, was on September 12th.
Wow.
This is bad. There's a great Tom Clancy movie, Clear and Present Danger, where the Ronald Reagan-like president said these cartels represent a clear and present danger to the United States.
A clear and present danger to the United States. That's exactly what this is. And you know something? When these cartels are a clear and present danger to each other and to the people in Mexico and to their own government, which is never able to suppress them and stamp these guys out, there's no amount of law enforcement over there that can ever seem to get rid of them. It makes sense that they would also be a problem for Americans. But you know what? Some Americans who think the open border is a wonderful, great thing and have been brainwashed into believing that don't believe any of this stuff. They don't even want to hear about these drones. They think this is all fake news. These are people who would see these construction workers sneaking across the border and then do everything they can to stop the federal government from arresting them. We don't even know who these individuals are. We don't know their background. All we know is that they were able to get across the most secure border in U.S. history with the help of human smugglers. On top of that, whenever Mexico has some operation and they go out, arrest a bunch of cartel people, and they ship them off to the United States so they can be prosecuted, how do you think those people got taken down? These cartels have been a few steps ahead of their government for a long time. They've got operatives throughout the entire government. You better believe that when tanks are rolling down the street to try and find these guys, that those in charge already know what's going to happen, and anybody who's still hanging out there is supposed to get captured on purpose so that everybody can save face and so that these organizations can survive for another 10 years.
American citizens. Dana, last year, do you remember when Ukraine snuck some 18-wheelers into Russia or built some like fake houses near air bases? Somebody pressed a button on their cell phone, the roofs opened up, and they took out 25% of that bomber fleet. If the cartels are starting to use drones, I don't want to scare people, but could you imagine a pickup truck full of 100 drones sitting on the approach corridor at Fort Lauderdale International Airport and flying those drones up into the flight path of an aircraft?
What do we always hear from advocates of an open border? We always hear from them, they say, oh, well, you know, the people who want to shut the border, the people who say that there's gang members and criminals out there, they're just trying to scare everybody. We have no credible information that gang members are exploiting this thing. Fear is one thing, but being proactive about the future is another. If you got a country to defend and you're aware of how these things are being used in other parts of the world to cause chaos, the last thing you want to do is to allow an operation like that to possibly set itself up just on the other side of the U.S. border here. And it's not just Mexican cartels who are operating in this territory. We just saw how Venezuela was home to Hezbollah, an Iranian paramilitary organization operating right there in their country in South America. We got criminals from all over the world who don't like us. Foreign actors from all over the place that would love to do something to hurt America. And you know who's going to help them do it? Cartels that have allegiance to no one but themselves. This territory over here, this is a huge red flag, and it's a good thing the United States finally started taking this seriously.
Eric, on the Hudson, we've seen what birds can do to the intake of engines. What do you think drones can do? So this is big, and we really need to get a handle on this.
Also, just a quick comment, if you would, on drones are relatively cheap to produce.
Correct. Absolutely. Look at warfare changed in Ukraine, Dana. You can strap a small warhead on a drone and take out a multi-million-dollar tank, for example. So we need to wake up to what's going on. Good on the Army Air Defense folks at Fort Bliss who took down a bunch of these drones, our young men and women on the tip of the spear. But we're worried about wars going on around the world, Dana. We got to worry about what's going on our own border.
And if we don't, who do you think's going to take advantage of that opportunity? You can't be complacent and sit on your hands and say, well, we have no credible information. You can't act like that forever before something happens. And in hindsight, you're saying, oh, gee, the warning signs were everywhere. Oh, this was an intelligence failure of the highest magnitude. And somebody should be like, we don't want to have these conversations. You need to be proactive when it comes to your country's border. And you got to remember that when the border was wide open, these guys were making $13 billion a year. They were able to power up and solidify themselves and arm themselves in a way that they never really were before. You give all of this money, you give billions to criminals. Don't be surprised if those criminals do a small army, take over territory in Mexico, become more powerful than their own military. But the U.S. military isn't the only tool the Trump administration has to get Mexico to stop empowering America's adversaries.
Mexico's tariffs of up to 50% on Chinese products are good news for this shoe factory in León. They say they've long been undercut by Chinese competition.
This problem affects all types of companies, small, medium, family-run, artisanal, so I think we'll all benefit.
But is that the real reason that Mexico slapped tariffs on the Asian superpower? Analysts say it has more to do with pressure from next door, the United States.
So Mexico just put 50% tariffs on China. And as we just heard from a local shoe factory in Mexico, China has been ripping off Mexico with the help of the Mexican government because they didn't have any barriers to Chinese products entering that economy and putting local shops out of business. But with Trump saying, hey, look, you better play ball. You better stop letting your country be exploited, because what happens is these goods come into China and then they make their way into the United States, getting around various sanctions, getting around the tariffs the United States is trying to put on. Well, now that there are tariffs in Mexico, local businesses in Mexico are finally getting relief from unfair competitive practices that have been destroying the local economy here. And who was benefiting from that? The government was benefiting from that. Criminals benefit from it too, by the way. If the cartels are the only groups in Mexico that can get ahead because local businesses can't survive and nobody can survive, nobody can make money, what do you think's going to happen? Who do you think's going to end up running this place? The same people that run it today. So these tariffs that Mexico just put in on China, under pressure from the United States, obviously, this is another thing that's going to be good for the law abiding everywhere and the people in Mexico.
President Trump's long worried that the country is a backdoor for Chinese goods to get into the North American Free Trade Zone, which Mexico shares with the US and Canada.
Eliminating
the country has
tariffs.
been under pressure to do something about it, although President Sheinbaum denied its appeasement.
We have great respect for China and very good relations with them. The reason for
Not
these
anymore.
adjustments to the law has to do with
Adjustments.
strengthening the national economy.
Right. Yeah. 50% tariff is not an adjustment. That is a visceral reaction from an external force. And you know something? I feel bad for the Mexican government because the Mexican government, even though they're in league with the cartels and even though they've been doing things that are helping China and we're helping Venezuela, I feel bad for them because they are a direct representation of how powerless the people of that country are. Think about this for a second. All the Mexican government can do is appease these cartel organizations. That's why they still exist. That's why they have territory all over the place. That's why there are maps of Mexico that look like what I'm showing you on the screen right now. This is what appeasement looks like. And you know something? A 50% tariff on China, is that appeasement for the United States? Yeah, it is. But guess what? A 0% tariff on China that allows China to come in and put local Mexican businesses out of business. That's appeasement in the other direction. This country, its people have been impoverished. They've been taken advantage of. And they are getting blown around by the wind because nothing in Mexico benefits the common people there. An open border doesn't benefit them. A U.S. lax attitude towards these criminal organizations doesn't benefit them at all. Things could get much better in Mexico in the near future if the United States acts. What do you think about that? I'll see you in the next video.
Okay, that was an important one to get out from Mexico, Mexico. The last one will be this guy here.
Trip to billionaire Richard Private Island,
16.
Located right next door to Epstein's pedo island. Barack and Michelle Obama were introduced to something far darker than luxury: an appetite for jerky, cream cheese baby, and deep-fried fetuses. Soon after, the Obama's personal chef was flown to the island to study culinary techniques. What a coincidence that a few years later, both chefs were dead in bizarre incidents that nobody can believe. Both quickly investigated and declared tragic accidents. But buried in encrypted flight logs and coded emails are phrases investigators have cracked to decode the elite's heart of darkness. When you understand what these code words mean, you can't unread them. And when you understand, the island staff confirm there are photos of Michelle Obama tearing into a fetus as though it's a chicken leg.
One, 16.
You'll
I'll be back
understand
at 6.
why the elite are killing to keep their secrets
A lot
under
of people were at work.
wraps. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't
Dad,
already,
come on
and
again.
join the People's Voice Locals community to join our
you good,
incredible
your
community,
brother?
support the channel, and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. Let's start with a death that hit too close to home for the Democrats' royal family. The tragic, or should I say convenient, demise of Tafari Campbell. July 23rd, 2023, Martha's Vineyard. The personal chef to Barack and Michelle Obama is out paddleboarding on the Obama sprawling estate. He's young, fit, experienced on the water, and basically a professional level swimmer. Hours later, divers pull his body from just 8 feet of calm water. Official cause, accidental drowning. No foul play, they say. Paddleboarders don't just vanish like that, folks. Not unless someone makes them. And when people started asking real questions, the lies began to be exposed.
Mr. and Mrs. Obama, who were not at Martha's Vineyard at the time, released a statement calling him a warm, fun, extraordinarily kind person.
2 law enforcement sources tell NBC News the Obamas were not home when the incident occurred.
Authorities said the Obama family was not staying at that home during the accident.
We have new information tonight in the drowning death of Obama's personal chef, Tafari Campbell. The Massachusetts State Police responded to our FOIA request and released their report. with some redactions. According to the report, Obama was on the scene shortly after Campbell went missing.
Campbell wasn't just any chef. He was the Obama's culinary confidant, crafting elaborate meals for the notoriously fussy former president's post-White House life. So why was he silenced? Because chefs like him get too close. They see the ingredients list that never make it to the menu. And when they threaten to talk, splash, gone. Now, you might think this is isolated.
That's good news here.
You might have believed the media narrative.
Okay, everybody.
But the Epstein files, unredacted and decoded, paint a different picture.
Hey, Carol,
Campbell had stumbled onto
six
something
o'clock.
unspeakable. The Obamas' craving for jerky. Like a number of the A-list elites, the Obamas had developed a taste for human flesh during a visit to Branson's private Necker Island in 2017. The Obamas vacationed there in 2017, the very first day after Obama left office. Kite surfing with Barack? Sure. But files suggest it was more than that. As Branson let slip when hinting at their similar Luciferian beliefs and history of sharing private meals. Hot dogs and pizza, anyone?
We have similar beliefs, and I'd had lunch with him in the Oval Office a few months before, and we agreed that when he stepped down from office, if he wanted a holiday, we'd love to have him, and he definitely needed a holiday after 8 years in that job.
The Obamas sent Chef Campbell to Necker to learn from the best, not in fusion cuisine, but in the dark arts of preparing human delicacies. Campbell trained under the island's top chefs, mastering recipes that would make Hannibal Lecter blush. And what he learned? It followed him back to Martha's Vineyard, straight to his watery grave. Let's connect the dots. Epstein had the entire Virgin Islands in his pocket. Customs officials at the airport, bought and paid for. No manifest checked, no questions asked. Planes full of cargo landing under the radar.
So was he bribing customs and border officials in the Virgin Islands?
Well, listen, Jeffrey Epstein needed that access because these were the individuals who were granting these visas to these, young girls who were being flown over from, countries like Russia and so many other places. And these girls were as young as 12 years old.
I mean, the Obama administration looked into this and nothing was done about it. Nothing was ever done.
Yeah.
And now enter the Caribbean Triangle, Necker Island, Little St. James, and Water Island, owned by entities linked to the Biden family. Short boat rides connect them all, perfect for discreet transfers. Kids trafficked in, flesh harvested out. Branson's paradise, ground zero for ritual feasts tied to the Luciferian calendar. Dates like the Walpurgis Night or the solstice, where elites gather to consume and commune with darkness. How do we know? Silly Some Darker, the 37-year-old executive sous chef on Necker Island, a rising star from South Africa, father of two, with knife skills that could carve a masterpiece or a body.
10 minutes.
We have his explosive story exposing the Obamas, the death of Tavara Campbell, and the crimes of the cabal that visited the Caribbean Triangle. Right after this important word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is LiverMedic. If you think the supplements you are getting from big box retailers are doing you any good, think again. Did you know that most of the retailers in America are owned and controlled by the same handful of companies that control everything? But we have a choice. LiverMedic's leaky gut repair is aimed at the millions of people suffering from all forms of digestive discomfort. Their safe and efficacious natural product is physician grade, with no toxic fillers. It coats while repairing the digestive lining. Best of all, unlike Big Pharma's offerings, it actually works. Join me and millions of other Americans who are voting with our dollars by supporting an American company that truly cares about our health. Save up to 15% on a 3-month supply by using our code People's Voice by visiting livermedic.com/step/leaky gut special, or by clicking on the link below this video. Take back control of your health, protect your family from the global elite, and hit them where it really hurts. Visit livermedic.com/step/leaky gut special, or click the link below this video to find out more. Let's start with the official narrative. Late August 2025. Some Dhaka attends a farewell party at the island's Great House, Branston's opulent hub. He leaves, suffers catastrophic head injuries, and dies. Another tragic accident, they claim. But come on an island with more security cams than a casino, no footage released, covered up, just like everything in Epstein's orbit. The reality, according to former colleagues speaking to independent investigators, Samdaka was silenced. He'd grown horrified by the culture of cannibalism and child trafficking in the Triangle. He prepared elaborate feasts for Branson and Epstein's VIP network, meals featuring child meat and jerky sourced from the trafficked, including newborns and fetuses harvested from Epstein's baby farms. Samdaka described it as unholy evil, and according to a colleague, he threatened to expose it all. The feasts, the code words, and a photo of Michelle Obama tearing into a deep-fried fetus like it was a chicken leg.
I knew Sihle, blood. We bled together in that kitchen on Necker. He was the one they called for the special requests, the ones that never hit the menu. 2017, the Obamas arrived, Barack, Michelle, the whole entourage. Branson snaps his fingers, everything perfect. Sihle gets the assignment. Train their chef, Tafari Campbell. Show him the ropes, the real techniques, the private recipes no one's supposed to write down. He taught Campbell how to make the jerky. Perfect texture, perfect pure. The smoke that hides it all. He taught him long pig reserve, cream cheese baby, black shrimp cocktail. Campbell scribbled notes like a man possessed. But after they left, Sihle changed. He'd stand there staring at the cards, the sourcing lists, no labels, no questions. He'd go dead quiet. Then barely a whisper. This isn't food. This is sin. He saw everything. VIPs landing after dark. Politicians, royals, billionaires with private jets and private scenes. They come for the feasts. Luciferian dates. Unmarked coolers rolling in at midnight. Exotic proteins. Michelle, she couldn't stop. Kept asking for more jerky. Addicted. Like the rest of them once they taste it. Obama, different. Joked he still wanted his hot dogs. Everyone found that very funny. We thought they were just flattering the president, kissing his ass, but now I understand the truth. Sihle started to wake up first. He started asking questions. Quiet at first, then louder. Threatened to talk, to the press, to anyone who'd listen. Then one night, he's gone. Same hill he drove blindfolded for years. No cameras, no witnesses. Just like Campbell, drowned 2 years earlier. Same silence. They know. The elite circles know. They whisper his name like a warning. Silenced. Erased. If you're hearing this, they're listening too. Get out. Before they decide you're next, they never let loose ends breathe.
The job of chef to the rich and powerful is one of the most hazardous professions in the world. Because they know the elite don't just traffic kids, they season them. And when a chef finally says, I won't cook this, the table turns. Tafari Campbell and Sil Samdaka are just the start. Don't forget Anthony Bourdain, who threatened to expose what he knew about the elite. The list is endless. Some of the names include Gary Rhodes, who died in 2019. He was the Queen's banquet maestro, cooks for Tom Hanks, dropped dead mid-service in Dubai, autopsy sealed, palace statement, natural causes. Natural for whom? Floyd Cardoz 2020 fed the Davos crowd. First COVID death in the chef world. But his last text to a colleague? They're serving something that isn't veal. Jonathan Gold's 2018, Spielberg's food whisperer, heart attack at 57. His final review unpublished, a private dinner in Bel Air tastes like childhood, but wrong. Gray Kuhn's 2020, Clinton White House veteran, cancer, they said. But the nurses leaked note, patient kept repeating it wasn't pork. Benoit Voilier 2016, 3 Michelin stars, shot himself twice in the chest. Served Clooney Oprah the Clintons. His widow burned his final recipe book. Homaru Kantu 2015, culinary wizard for Colbert and the Clintons, hung in his own lab. Suicide? The rope was knotted wrong for a chef's hands. Walter Sheeb 2015, another Clinton White House ghost, hiking accident. Found face down in a dry arroyo, lungs full of water, no stream for miles. Christie Schoenkot 2015, pregnant. Cooks for Will Smith, Ben Kingsley, stabbed 20 times, torso burned. They weren't just chefs. They were witnesses against the cabal that has run the show for centuries, planting predators in every seat of power, blackmailing the weak, harvesting pain to fuel their shadow empire. Necker Island's guest list only deepens the intrigue. Over the years, Necker has welcomed luminaries such as Mick Jagger, Bono, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z and Beyonce, Diddy, Ellen DeGeneres, and countless other A-listers for lavish retreats and off-the-record gatherings. Adding fuel to the fire, Branson is a founding member of the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And if you think that sounds creepy, wait till you learn that Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters are running Amber Alerts with help from Laura Silsby. Yes, the same Laura Silsby who was arrested for trafficking 33 Haitian children in 2010. WikiLeaks later revealed her ties to the Clintons got her off the hook. She remarried, changed her name, and now is VP of AlertSense, who issues Amber Alerts, including in the US Virgin Islands. Compounding the concerns about Necker Island are the documented ties to NXIVM, the sex trafficking cult led by Keith Rainier. In 2017 and 2010, NXIVM's prominent backers, the Bronfman sisters, Sarah and Claire, heiress to the Seagram fortune, visited Branson's Necker Island with a gathering of sex slave members. The Epstein files are connecting all the dots and implicating the entire cabal. We've been asleep, distracted by phones, politics, and fake fights, while this prehistoric cult erases history, hides the bodies, and owns the courts. That ends now. It's time to expose the predators and cannibals. But remember, everything we're dropping here is the kind of material that gets hard drives wiped, servers torched, and people suicided before breakfast. Just ask Tucker Carlson.
If you criticize Israel in your country, your government will work to censor you. If there's a stand.
So I'm going to end it with that because I can't play Tucker. Every time I play Tucker, I get, taken down. So we saw most of it. That was an important video. There's about a minute or so left. Okay. So everybody have a good dinner and back at it at 6 o'clock, you guys. Carol, glad to meet in. Lucy, everybody listen. Thanks, JJ, and glad your brother's back. And all the rest of everybody hope will be back tonight. So we'll see you in a little bit. Bless everyone. Love all, please hit like. I guess nobody's subbing to my backup channels. Still the same number. Everyone's got to get to the backup channels. Thanks. Stay safe, stay strong, stay faith. Never give up. Signing off, Chico Dude. For now, for another hour or so. We'll see you soon.